Hello, you wonderful people, and welcome to another episode of Super-Fanta-Fi. This being a show where I talk about TV shows of the supernatural, fantasy, and/or science fictional genre. For today's episode, I'm going to talk about the latest episode of Legacies, a great episode. A lot of really interesting things went down in this episode, so let's break it down. Quite a bit of shenanigans, in fact, actually went down in this episode. But the fact of the matter is, we've got Landon trying to fly, kind of unsuccessfully bouncing on a trampoline and everything like that. And I love like Wade being like, yo, flap your wings. He's like, Superman doesn't have to flap his wings. Well, Superman's an alien, you're a bird. And he was like, you literally just found out you were a fairy last episode, so stop I forgot what the exact wording was, but it's kind of like, don't be so smug is what Landon was saying. But Wade actually said this kind of depressing thing where he's like, I know you're only kind of hanging out with me because I'm kind of like your replacement friend until Raphael gets back. And then, you have Landon being like, what? No, it's not like that. Which is kind of sad that Wade feels like that. Like, I'm just kind of your fill-in friend until Raphael gets back. I was like, that's actually sad. But then, we also had the thing with like, arrows flying everywhere, people getting together, those two neighbors getting together, the mailman and the dog, the police officer and the person he's pulling over. And it's like, love is in the air. And I was like, it's actually super sweet. I was like, all right, how is Cupid going to cause some shenanigans? Cupid flies in, which I'm sure also for, there's got to be a little bit of a sting for Landon because it's like, oh, Cupid flying. Right. Me, who's been trying to fly unsuccessfully. But obviously, love is essentially in the air. And obviously, Landon is trying to prove himself because obviously he wants to be able to take care of himself so that Hope doesn't end up, getting swept up. He wants to be able to look after her, not only her, but himself, but also not having to feel like she has to, always come to his rescue. He wants to be able to, do something on his own, feel prideful. Because I think, what it also stems from is like the fact of the matter is he feels like he doesn't deserve Hope because like Hope is so powerful. She's such a badass. And it's like, what do I bring to a relationship? Nothing, And hey, I get that. I felt that insecurity. I'm like, yeah, the other person in a relationship is so cool. I'm kind of the loser in a relationship. What am I bringing to the relationship? I've kind of felt that. Which not to call Landon a loser. I'm just saying that as one person who's felt like a loser. It's a whole thing. But I just, I thought that was just kind of a neat element to the whole situation. Landon tries handling the whole Cupid situation himself, but it doesn't work. And Cupid's got an arrow, and he's like, oh, don't shoot me. Lo and behold, you have Hope coming to the rescue, and she's like, you should have come to me first. But he was like, I was just trying to, and it's like he was trying to handle himself, but obviously she's got Cupid locked up and everything. And now the whole thing, it's like, because it's also interesting too to see like, each of the different arrows kind of represent different things basically in a spectrum of love. And obviously Landon's kind of stuck, kind of basically babysitting, because at the same time Hope was trying to deal with the whole Alyssa situation to get her to bring Lizzie, Lorik, and Josie back, but she's not willing to. It's because she's that pissed at the Salzmans that she doesn't want. She's like, if I could, I would have basically sent you to Hope for being so damn annoying and stuff like that. But Hope is trying her best, and it's almost kind of like, shows you how the state of Alyssa's mind is. The fact is that she's so calm. She's kind of doing yoga in the cell and everything about this. It's like, it's almost, you literally are showing no remorse. No empathy can be seen as a bit of an issue. So all that's going down, MG's trying to go to Caleb about like, basically like, let me date your sister. Like, I like her, things are good. And it's like, and the moment Caleb was like, this, and I was like, the moment he said all that, and he was like, you know what, who am I to get in the way of things? I'm like, you're not going to back down that easy. I was like, the pool, the strawberries, it's like, they're things that Kim doesn't like, right? Of course. Like, I knew that immediately, just with his response. I'm like, you're trying to sabotage things between MG and your sister. Of course. But, obviously, it's interesting because, like I said, you have like Landon kind of like, spilling his heart to, Cupid, especially being like, the fact of the matter is, have you as a god like ever dated someone like a human? And he's like, I kind of don't mix pleasure with business. But the fact of the matter is, because obviously for him, it's like, I'm kind of the weaker person in this relationship. She's the one who wears the pants in the relationship. Like I said, he just feels like he doesn't deserve her because it's like she's so amazing. And it's like I said, what do I bring to the relationship type of thing? And obviously loves, Hope, but he wants her to kind of see him as kind of an equal, as like, I can help, I can handle things too. And then, Cupid proceeds to, it is almost interesting too, and it's actually kind of morbid that the first thing they do is chop off his wings. Even I was like, Jesus. I mean, well, I guess it's to make sure that he doesn't get away. But now it kind of makes sense why you did that, because because Hope already knew that the spell would not go all the way to the ceiling and stuff like that, which Cupid kind of figures out, and with his tiny wings ends up flying away, and Landon's like, oh, two can do that, tries to fly, no luck, all right, plan B. And it's like, all right, the hero squad gathered up, but it's basically, rather than having the A team, because truth be told is a lot of the A team is missing, so we got the B team. Said B team includes obviously Landon, Wade, Pedro, and what was the girl's name? Drusilla. And it's just kind of like, yeah, look at this, the B team, and Jed. And it's this whole thing of Landon being like, yeah, we're not like the heroes and everything, but we can step up to be the heroes and stuff like that, because we're basically saying like, hey, we're kind of the losers, and we're kind of the background losers who really, and Wade's kind of looking like, is this supposed to be an inspirational speech? And Jed's like, no, shut up. I was like, oh, Jed is feeling it. And it's like, we got to find our destiny, so who's with me? But Jed decides to leave because he's got his own destiny. I'm like, okay, what's that about? Does everyone else with me? And Pedro's like, yeah, as long as we're back before snack time. And Wade's kind of like, yeah. And then Landon's like, well, yeah, of course. And Drusilla, and she's like, yeah, I'll help out and everything. It's like, if I get to keep the wings. And Landon's like, okay. I'm like, dude, I love we're kind of expanding the roster of characters we're kind of getting to know and spend time with. I love it. And I love Cable being like, oh yeah, like the superhero squad's supposed to be meeting up, right? And he's like, yeah, we're here. And it's like, Caleb's like, oh man, I'm with the rejects. All right, let's go. Kim's looked into some of this Cupid stuff. At the same time, you have Hope using one of Cupid's arrows on Alyssa to try and open up her heart more, to kind of get the information about the Ascendant and everything. Arrow doesn't necessarily work the way Hope hopes it will. And it ends up being like, oh, she's like, I got a crush on someone. And I'm like, who does she have a crush on? And then she walks over. It's the whole thing about, her and MG. I thought, and now in retrospect, remember like a couple episodes ago with the whole Sebastian thing? She's like, well, if you don't like Sebastian, we don't like Sebastian, MG. And it's like, it's because she was like, you're the only vampire I like. And I was like, oh, that's interesting. It makes me wonder, and I'm maybe it's just purely like, oh, she's had a thing for MG for a while, but obviously, I'm sure that probably feeds into why she another reason why she hates Lizzie so much. Because out of anyone, she doesn't like Lizzie or Josie, but she really, really hates Lizzie the most. It makes you wonder, is it that? Because like obviously like MG's been like obsessed with Lizzie like forever, so that's got to kind of piss you off a little bit. But I'm wondering, is that part of the reason? Maybe not. She referenced it later on, so I think that definitely pees her off about that whole situation. But part of me was wondering, do you think she kind of has a thing for MG also because he's a Ripper? I think she probably had a thing for him long before it came out that he's a Ripper. I don't know how many people publicly know that he's a Ripper, That's still probably like kind of a kept enough secret that like Caleb might be one of the only people who knows him, and Dorian, which I didn't even talk about it, because Dorian's trying to get Emma to stay, but she doesn't until the arrows come flying and they both, shack up and everything. I love what their story ends up turning into, because they're about to get married, and lo and behold, Jed's destiny that he's been searching for is being with Emma. I'm wondering, had Jed already gotten hit with one of the arrows earlier in the episode, or was that just Jed acting on his own, which is like, oh, here I am. It's, it's like, you're the only person in the school who understands me. And he's like, marry me instead of Dorian. And I love a cop or somebody nearby was kind of had his hand over his heart, like, oh, that's sweet. I'm like, this is complicated. So that was an interesting situation to find out. That story, ends up turning out that way. Then there's like the awkward Alyssa and MG date, because obviously Alyssa's really, really into MG, but MG's into Kim, and that's a whole thing. And he has to flirt because he's got Hope in his ear, telling her like what move she should make, which is so interesting, because I feel like, I think that's supposed to speak volumes about the fact that the matter is Hope doesn't have everything kind of figured out when it comes to the grand scheme of love either. Like, she's not like, it's not like she's an expert in like how to kind of seduce people and stuff like that. MG tries it and kind of doesn't work and stuff like that. And it's just like, things kind of are getting hot and steamy, but obviously he has to eventually go, I'm sorry, this is all to try to get the Ascendant. And then she's like, all right, I understand. I've always liked your honesty. MG, come on, I'll take you to the Ascendant. Here it is. Let me guess, this is all about Lizzie, isn't it? You've always loved her, so this is about you getting her back. But he's like, no, it isn't. Like, I'm into Kim now, and the fact of the matter is this is just me trying to get him back. And because of that, she smashes the Ascendant. So and now it's like she's planning on dealing with Kim. Obviously, that whole situation didn't work out because obviously, and Hope comes back. Well, because there's so much. Because the Hero Squad, I love it. Caleb rolling up in the car with Pedro, and it's like, yo, here's the other three on a little. I don't know what the hell you call those. I don't know what you would call those. They're not scooters, but you get that whole thing, which is funny. And it's just kind of like, and you can't call Shotgun for Infinity. That doesn't work, Landon was saying. So I love that. And obviously, it turns out the interesting thing is this isn't quite Cupid, and there's not the whole like, oh, love it, it's beautiful and everything. It's like, oh no, the love arrow thing is meant so it can like fatten up your heart so you can eat it. It's like, oh, so this is a bloody twist on Cupid. That's interesting. So obviously the book says like, oh yeah, Cupid's like arrows need to be used against him. Landon's firing. 2, miss. Oh, I also love that when they went in there, obviously Drusilla, she kind of runs away. She's like, oh my God, puking. And then Wade starts puking up, like it looks like, I guess like fairy dust or whatever. It's just like, he's just puking. I love that. Like, I love that so much. But yeah, it doesn't work. And lo and behold, who has to show up? Hope shows up, summons up all the arrows, and shoots Cupid with all of them. And it's like, yeah, I already done. Obviously, Landon's like, oh no. She's like, I get it, you were trying to help. But she was pissed at him because it's like, once again, it's like, rather than coming to me, because she had said, don't put me in a position where I have to choose between saving you and saving the day. I'd rather not be put in that position. But Landon keeps doing that in his attempt to try him. I mean, granted, he didn't do this by himself. He had other people, but it's still the thing of come to me, like, with this whole situation. But sadly, you know, so Hope was pissed, but in the end, it doesn't matter because it turns out that didn't work to kill him. Circling back to the Hope situation, you know, MG had that whole conversation about like both of them messing up the way MG handled this, but also the way Hope handled this. They both kind of messed up in the situation. So he goes off. MG goes off to protect Kim. It turns out, you know, that they ended up figuring out that the reason why the arrows didn't work is because it wasn't Cupid that we were trying to kill. It turns out Cupid actually has other siblings, which I'm wondering, does Cupid actually eat hearts too? Do all the siblings actually do that? Does Cupid and like, yeah, I'd assume if one sibling does it, they all do it. So that was kind of an interesting development. So, but nevertheless, I love that moment of MG and Caleb trying to Alyssa using magic and slowing them down. I'm like, yo, that looks pretty badass. And then like Kim, you know, MG, because I love Alyssa being even pissed because it's like, oh, you're into a human, have some standards. But the fact of the matter is that whole thing went down, and I love that. You know, for Alyssa, it's like, well, if I can't have MG, no one can. She was about to stake him because the arrow, more so, it wasn't love, it was obsession. And, you know, for Hope, she didn't really think too much about it. She just needed to get what she needed to get she needed to get the Ascendant from Alyssa. That's all she, you know, needed and wanted. So she didn't care how she went about, you know, whatever she needed to do, you know, to get, you know, because once again, it's like, the Saltzmans are her family, you know? You know, especially like, you know, not having her dad around anymore. Rick is, you know, like another father to her. And, you know, like as I said before, Lizzie and Josie are her sisters. It's not like sisters. They are her sisters, you know. It's a beautiful thing. But that's why she's kind of so desperate to kind of, you know, end up saving them. But I even love that slow motion, or just like, because even like while they were being slowed down, like you see like MG just kind of slowly jumping over the railings and stuff like that. Caleb grabbing like a vase or something to throw. But luckily Kim came to save the day. So it's like, oh, they luckily got saved. So sadly, the way that story plays out isn't a very happy ending because Kim decides to leave. Because for her, it's the sad situation in this, like, the supernatural world isn't the most welcoming world. It's not the best environment for humans. In fact, it can be very dangerous. Many shows have proven that. Shows in this universe have proven that. That being the Vampire Diaries and the originals. That whole thing doesn't always work out. Obviously, we got some exceptions in this universe. Obviously, Dorian working here. Obviously, Alaric as well, for different circumstances, but it's just not the keenest, best place, especially for Kim. It was never meant to be safe. It was something, Caleb had already told her about, but now it's like seeing what this killer Cupid thing and her almost getting killed by a witch, it's a little too much, and she's leaving, neither one of them wanted Caleb to be right about this situation, so it's obviously like, if I'm ever in Atlanta, and she's like, yeah, so it's like, but sadly, when MG is willing to kind of move on, has the opportunity to move on, sadly things don't work out. And I love like Alyssa being, it's like MG's never going to feel that way about you, Alyssa. Fact of the matter is, and you almost killed my sister, so you need to figure this out. Because Alyssa's like, honestly, I have no idea how to get the Saltzmans back. That's why she was kind of being so stubborn about it, because even with I think she legitimately didn't have any idea. And besides, that wasn't 100% just her. That was like the arrow kind of like amplifying how she kind of felt. So, but, and I love Caleb. Just find someone else to kind of crush on. And then she's like, okay, I'll do it. She's smiling at him. You hear Caleb going, no, and walks away. So it's almost like the thing of like, when you actually think about it, it's like the bad boy at school, Caleb, and the bad girl at school, Alyssa. That's interesting. So I don't know. We'll see what ends up becoming of that. Like Caleb says no, but we'll see. But what I like about the interesting aspect to the episode is the whole situation, because obviously the Cupid dude ends up attacking Hope, and he talks about the fact is that like she'll basically turn to ash, and the only thing that'll be left, because she'll be burning from the inside, the only thing that'll be left is her heart. My mind was like, well, Phoenix is burned, and obviously like Landon shows up and he stabs himself with an arrow, and he talks about the fact is that for him it's like, oh, the arrow's not even affecting me. Why? Because I already love Hope so much, and the fact of the matter is I don't even know why she's with me, but I still love her. Like the love between us is so true, and and I thought, my mind immediately thought, like, oh my God, like, I thought what was going to happen is that he doesn't know that Landon's a Phoenix. And because I'm not that well versed in Phoenix lore. So I thought what he was going to do was rip out Landon's heart and eat it. And that Landon's heart was going to burn him from the inside. That's what I was thinking. But it was really interesting because we ended up finding out that's not the case at all. Basically, Landon, like, they couldn't tell, they didn't know what sibling he was. So Landon ended up eating ingesting all the weaknesses of all the siblings, and then at least one of them was going to kill the Cupid dude. So it worked out in the end. So, and then Hope and him have that cute moment in the little bathtub. Oh, they're so adorable. But now it's kind of a thing of like neither one of them kind of having to it's kind of like their strength is kind of essentially, they didn't really talk about it, but basically their strength is them working together. Because Hope is like, help me figure this out, try to get the Saltzmans back, because the fact of the matter is even I don't have all the answers, that the fact is that Landon is kind of finding his way into the whole hero game. So I thought that was pretty dope. But actually thought it was a sweet touching moment, because obviously, and she was also like, do you really not know why I'm with you? And he was like, actually no. And then she pulls out a journal where she had written down like the first time she ever turned, that basically like, even if she can't be with Landon, the fact is him being the patient person and the caring person that he is, for her holding on to the memory of who Landon is will be enough to kind of keep her tied over. So showing like that's what she loves the most about him, is just who he is at his core. And I was like, this is super adorable. And then she's like, Landon, and we looked down and he's fine. I'm like, yeah, he did it. So that's pretty dope. The power of love. It's super adorable. At the same time, another angle to this episode. It's interesting, the whole Chad and the necromancer relationship is adapted a little bit, because obviously it seemed like Chad was very like reserved at first, but now he's definitely very Igorish in this episode, of just kind of going along with it, and he's playing like they're playing a comedy duo, like a little slapstick humor in the whole situation. What was it? That situation later on where it's just kind of like, well, the plan with the Cupid thing didn't work out. They broke in and stole some weapons and stuff. And I love that it's like, what took you so long? Chad was like, well, I had to literally wait for them to bury the body, and then I had to kind of, dig it up and everything. And I love it's like, oh, look at this. What is it? It's a golden arrow. It's like, oh, it's like, yeah, like, good work, Chad. And it's like, ha ha ha. And Chad touches, like, no, stop touching it. And he goes back to maniacally laughing and stuff like that. I love that. But what's interesting about that is what it tied into that whole prophecy from the Sphinx and everything, which is interesting because he also said, oh, put it over there with the Sphinx. So I guess its body is there. So I'm guessing all the monsters from Malevor's pit, they're dying, but I guess he's still keeping their bodies. I mean, obviously he did what he did with, because obviously Clark's body acted as a means of opening the portal. But I'm curious, like, what he's planning to do with the other bodies. I guess, like I said, I guess at some point he ended up killing the Sphinx, or maybe, like, after it serves its purpose, it just kind of goes back to being in a very specific state of, like, not alive anymore. I don't know. But, the fact is, it was all about, like, oh, like, a hero will rise and will fall by a golden arrow, and I'm like, so I guess it's implying that, like, obviously now a hero has risen, that he is a hero, Landon's kind of found his footing, and he's literally learned how to fly now. That I guess a golden arrow, and maybe this thing can just kill anything supernatural, or maybe it's literally the one weakness to a phoenix or something like that. Maybe that's what that's implying. Maybe it's kind of a weakness to somebody else. We'll ultimately have to, wait and see. But I'm curious to see where all that kind of ends up taking us going forward. But really, that's all I want to talk about. Till the next time we meet, be happy, be safe, live life to the fullest, and enjoy it. Good day and goodbye.